Want to take a look at this? The hated English VA returns to ruin her career even more. What's her name again? I forgot what her Kaylee Mills, Kaylee Miles, or whatever her name is. Well, you think if we had enough of her, well, I guess she's back again, of course. Nothing changes these days. She has begun her arc to become the most hated VA in the English industry, so why not just tarnish your reputation even more? So apparently this is what happened recently. I assume it's probably going to talk about, well, to be honest, I don't know what she has done now. I was going to say, is this about the NTE thing? But if it's getting worse. And also, the Hero Hey video is like 31 minutes long, too, as well. I'm just like wondering, what the hell did she do this time? It can't be that bad for Hero Hey to make a 31-minute video, because usually I don't see 31-minute videos from Hero Hey.
You may notice crazy thing happened. I got a new VTuber design. Maybe you saw the community tab post I made shortly before recording this video. If
hey,
not,
congrats!
There you go. There's the community tab post.
You got a 2.0
like
model.
Sentences. But if you want a little more context,
he got that 2.0 model. Not bad, not bad. Looks pretty good, actually.
Last year, you know how it is.
Kaylee Mills,
work in
process
process
her name.
And all that. In today's topic, though, we have a Kaylee Mills update, and that should be a fun way to start using a new design, getting to talk about a Kaylee Mills update, because that's always a fun topic. So thank you for the tag, Chow Girl. Hey, Hero Hey, and Paper Bag Boy. It seems like Kaylee Mills is back at it again, with her second apology, and this time it's a Google Doc. She's going nuts
she has a Google Doc?
I couldn't capture all of them, so you gotta check them out for yourself, and it's being discussed on Reddit. All right, let's start with the tweets. It's been a year since the incident. And although my intention has been to allow the entire thing to simply blow over so I can move on from it, I still find it rearing its ugly head. For those who wish to clear up misunderstanding, TLDR, because I know reading's hard.
Is this about
I take accountability for what I did.
VA
it was
that
wrong,
literally has nothing
but
to
I did
do with
not
the English
dox,
side?
pocket watch, or look up anyone's personal info. If you want to hate me over a couple rude comments, that's up to you. But please don't spread things I didn't do. If you still consider what I did harassment, then we have different definitions based on intention. The definition doesn't matter though. Regardless, I apologize for what I did. It was wrong. I will be more careful in the future. Before we take a look at her Google Doc, let's take a look at some public reception here.
She decided to apologize like a year after? Okay, I guess. All right. I don't know what it is again. Is it the thing for the Takahashi VA guy? Is this what this is about? There's no way this is what this is about, right?
Kaylee Mills is responding to people as well. So the first one here from Maple Sugar says, you really wrote 3 pages of word salad rejecting accountability and blaming stuff in your personal life for being part of a harassment campaign of someone you know nothing about as a 31-year-old and thought it was a good idea to post. Kaylee says, I do not reject accountability, and I'm confused why that's your interpretation. But I've been accused of things far beyond the scope of what I did. The point is not to say, look, I did nothing wrong. It's to say, hey, I didn't dox or look up anyone's personal info. That's it. Then we get a response that says, sorry to say, this is also the same way everyone else off Twitter is perceiving it, linked to the aforementioned Genshin Impact subreddit post about Kaylee's new statement. This is actually hilarious. Kaylee says, I expect as much from that subreddit. Whether it's purposely being obtuse or just rejecting the idea of losing their excuse to hate on people, I hope you're able to think for yourself and move on.
Mike.
Okay, no, we need to pause for a second, Kaylee. This is hilarious because the SAG-AFTRA VAs were so mad at the Genshin Impact subreddit because the subreddit was calling out their lies and their hypocrisy to the extent that some SAG-AFTRA VAs were even demanding that the subreddit get deleted. They were like, the whole subreddit should get deleted. Because again, people weren't buying their narrative. And some of these VAs even went over to the Genshin Impact subreddit with their damage control. And when the community didn't believe the damage control and again was calling out the lies, they got so mad. Some of those VAs deleted their entire Reddit accounts. Others were, as mentioned, demanding that the whole subreddit get shut down. And yeah, so now, like a year later, Kaylee is still just mad at that subreddit. And
she
look,
still is?
There's plenty of valid reasons to dislike Reddit. But this is an example of them hating this subreddit when the subreddit was objectively correct on this issue. The subreddit was making a bunch of great points, and these VAs can't stand it because they have no accountability and they don't want to admit how wrong they are on this issue and how terribly they've handled all of this. You know, I realize if you're not in the loop with this issue, you're probably super confused right now. Just for posterity, this is all, of course, in reference to the Genshin Impact SAG-AFTRA pseudo strike of 2025. and how VAs like Kaylee Mills
I
were
can't believe this is still kind of semi getting brought up or so in the year of 2026.
harassing the
I still cannot believe this is getting
Japanese-based
talked
voice
about.
actor Jacob Takanashi for getting the role of Kenichi from the prior VA John Patnode, who, by the way, was refusing to voice Kenichi for a period of around like 8 months as he took part in said pseudo strike, where these VAs were trying to claim that they were just trying to get protections from AI use. But when you took a look,
I think it's just a shadow. The whole AI protection thing is just a shadow face or so, basically like a mask or so. What they really want is to hold a monopoly for them, so then they specifically will have control rights or so of that project of who gets to be in the voice acting. Nobody outside, basically anyone outside of their fucking bubble sphere, they can't get the job because it's quote unquote union.
the contracts, there was so much more to it than that, as many people argued.
And I bet you $10 too as well. I bet you, if they had full control of that, let's say in some alternative timeline they actually won, right? Then they have full control of who gets in and who doesn't get in, and probably, since I assume they have some friends or so that want to get into the VA scene, they'll probably give them the job for them to get them in almost immediately. Even though they're not that good at VAing, it'll probably make the Genshin English side even far worse when it comes to voice acting.
Reasonably so.
That's just my
that
theory,
it looked
though.
like SAG-AFTRA was really trying to strong-arm
But I
other
wouldn't be wrong
non-union
if it's
VAs
true.
into joining the union or getting fired from their role, which led people to the, as mentioned, reasonable conclusion that it looked like SAG-AFTRA VAs were really trying to monopolize the industry. It was a power play, and they gaslit the public by trying to claim that said power play was really just for AI protections, which was all a farce. We all saw right through that. As mentioned, we called these VAs out, and they just handled this all, to say unprofessionally would be an understatement. They handled it all just immensely bad. Horribly. So it's hilarious that Kaylee's all like, I expected as much from that subreddit. I also think it's hilarious that she's saying like, oh, you're all just rejecting the idea of losing an excuse to hate on people. Dude, that's literally what you all did to Jacob Takanashi and anyone else who needed to keep working.
Oh yeah, of course.
Anyone else who couldn't afford to give up their role to take part in this ridiculous pseudo strike. You would all call them scabs and advocate for them to be harassed, and a number of the VAs a part of that strike were even advocating for violence against the people that they were labeling as so-called quote-unquote scabs. OP says, this didn't need to be posted to begin with. If anything, it just reignited the fire and put your comments on the other fired cast members' comments back in the spotlight. She says, I have the right to defend myself against defamatory statements. I'm not responsible for how people respond to that. OP says, I guess it just comes off across like you're trying to salvage your career or something. None of the information mentioned is new. And she ends with this. You're right, it's not new. But like I said, I've been accused of doxing, pocket watching, and digging up private info. Those things didn't happen. I wanted to explain in one place.
Didn't you like checked up on the dude's like Instagram or something like that and said that like, oh, the dude bought a house, you know, he doesn't need that money or anything like that. Like you technically got into the life of Jacob Takanashi, which you really didn't need to call him out on Twitter for that for some apparent reason. So I don't know. I'm just saying we didn't really need to know that information that he just recently bought a house with his girl.
Where those accusations came from and what the truth about them was. My career's fine. My career's fine with the
You want to bet on that? I don't think it's doing very well, in my personal opinion.
Smiley. Yeah, her career is so fine that the one defender of hers in the replies is lamenting how she lost her role as Kaching in Genshin Impact. Says, they've changed old Quest voices. I think by next patch, she may no longer have your voice at all. It's kind of heartbreaking when she, Kaching, doesn't sound like she used to. Anyways, thank you, Kaylee, I mean it, for being the voice of her for 5 years, my most loved playable character. I almost feel bad for this person. Like, bro, you like the character Kaching, don't worry about it. Like, this person is conflating too much Kaching equals Kaylee. That's not the case. Kaching is Kaching, Kaylee is Kaylee. Enjoy Kaching, don't be all like doom posting about it. That's my 2 cents. He can do whatever he wants, but you know, people sometimes unfortunately conflate VA with character too much, and that's something English VAs love to take advantage of.
Is it okay, so I have a question, right? Is this only like a Western thing where like their ego gets inflated or so that they think they are the character themselves? Is this just only literally straight up just a Western mentality? because I don't really see it like in any other, like I don't see it in like in Spanish media when it comes to voice acting. I don't really see it much in Japanese either. It almost seems like it's just mostly like a Western thing. Seems like it, yes, Lamau, very much so. Okay, all right. Is it because I'm like, is it because they land like a really really big role? Is that the reason why? Like it is definitely an ego inflation thing, at least from like what I'm looking at it. I don't know, if I get like something like this or so, I'd be like, I enjoyed my time with the character and I had a fun time, and that's basically it, so I'm like, it's not like I'm trying to like be the character IRL, that's not how it works. Was it Kaylee Mills one of the Genshin VAs that were swapped from the SAG-AFTRA? Yeah, she's Kaching. She's Kaching's VA. But the funny thing about it, I've never listened to it in English because I just didn't like it in English. Compared to Japanese for Genshin Impact, and that's kind of like, I don't know, I just never really care. Like if it was in Spanish, if it had Spanish VA for Genshin Impact, I don't know if it does actually, to be frankly honest, but if it did or so, I would totally 100% listen to it in Spanish, to be honest.
My gosh, it gets worse. Maple is here once again, says, to say none of your comments toward Jacob and his wife/family were intended to be hurtful is laughable to read.
I'm like, in my personal opinion, if you're gonna get a massive ego from this, right, I think you should humble yourself, and they should probably replace that person before they cause some reputable damage to the game itself. Like, it just ruins the image of the game. I'm just saying, they should just replace them immediately. But that's just like my personal opinion. Like, honestly, like, if you're gonna get an inflated ego when it's literally an opportunity that you landed or so with your hard work or so to get a VA role in a Genshin or in any of these games in general, right? It's a privilege, it's not a right. So you should be like, thank you for the opportunity,
A pause really quick too, and I would say, in my opinion,
instead of getting this
it was also beyond hurtful. I think she was actively
ego.
trying to damage Jacob Takanashi. Like, she was freaking out, and all these SAG VAs were freaking out that all the public opinion was supporting Jacob, and she was desperately trying to shift that narrative away from him, trying to make him look bad, trying to damage his reputation with the stuff that she dug up or whatever, which was, hey, they got a new house.
Yeah.
Oh wow. So it was the dumbest talking point. It was like, I'm going off memory now, it was like a year ago, but the talking point was essentially like, Jacob has a new house that him and his wife bought.
Yeah.
So he clearly has money and doesn't need this role.
Oh,
and everyone
yeah,
was like, dude, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And why are you looking into his personal
That's what
information
she
like
said
that
too.
and posting it? Which is what's being referred to here. Anyways, her excuse is now,
I guess it's like, I'm gonna be honest with you. She probably lives in California. I'm gonna be honest with you, hun. Just because you bought a house doesn't mean, right? It doesn't mean that you immediately have let's say for example the house costs I don't know, above 100K, right? I assume you have to pay mortgage on it, right? Like you have to pay I assume like you put a down payment, right, on the house, and then from the down payment you pay monthly or so until the house pays off, depending on the pricing of the house and depending how much money you have in total. I assume that's how it works. I'm not too sure. Like I said, I don't know how the housing system works specifically, because houses are so expensive.
they were done to defend a friend. The intention
That's what I
was
kind of
not
figured
to
as
hurt
much.
them.
I
It was to
assume
prove a
you
point about
pay monthly, right? I assume you pay monthly afterwards when you buy a house specifically. Houses in California go for millions. That's why Kaylee Mills will never get one, to be honest. She always keeps complaining on Twitter.
necessity, which, like I said, was not something I should have done. Still, nothing that was said was insulting to his family, just overstepping and not my business. Another person says, quote, I can be hurtful to people if I'm defending a friend, unquote. Come on now, if you're going to take accountability, you can't start making excuses at the same time. Kaylee says, because two things can be true at once. I can be sorry for what I did and make it clear that I wasn't doing it to hurt someone. That's why I apologized.
What's with the
Well, I'm sorry, I just
though?
don't think the second part's true. The things you said were not just hurtful, but intrusive. Good point. So it's just hard to agree when something
Can we give her the TikTok rabbit meme or so for her? Like the hourglass time thing or so for her? TikTok, Kaylee Mills, TikTok, you know. Can we just do that to her, in my personal opinion?
so very malicious. At the end of the
Instead
day,
of
though, it's
instead
your
of
life,
fighting on
so
Twitter or
do
so,
what you
like,
will.
can you do something
Kaylee leaves two more comments
productive
there
in society,
and says,
you know?
I know my intentions,
hurting
and they
other
were not to
people?
hurt anyone. Oh my gosh, dude.
And
Those
ruining
things
your
were not an
career
insult
too
in
as
my
well.
book. Perhaps other cultures/people take it differently. If you don't believe me, that's on you. I know my heart. Another user then says, was this what he would have wanted? And shows a screenshot of Kaylee Mills getting mad at VA Jennifer Hale, where Jennifer Hale said healing is the most important. This has been an incredibly difficult and divisive time. There's much work to do to put our community and our industry back together. Now, SAG-AFTRA VAs were really upset at Jennifer Hale for making this statement since it came off like she wasn't supporting their pseudo-strike, such as Kaylee Mills responding to Jennifer Hale and saying, "You are enabling drama tubers and making people in your community feel unsafe, airing their frustrations while trying to navigate a really tough situation in a private space." Dude, a situation
She got a
that
community
you guys literally
guideline
created,
strike
but
for that
okay.
too as well.
I really hope
Or
you
community
simply
strike,
didn't
or
understand
whatever
how
the fuck.
harmful
Community
this could
noted.
be.
There you
You're
go.
hurting
That's what I'm
your
talking about.
community. Again, you guys started all of this. Oh my gosh, no accountability as usual. Kaylee doubles down here as well a year later now, saying, "Nah, Jennifer Hale, was wrong for that. I don't think she quite understood the situation or who she was hurting though." So yeah, English VAs like Kaylee were all upset at Jennifer for making the statement because she wasn't just
Wow,
blindly
VAs that are actually reasonable on the English side, and then the VAs that are not reasonable on the English side attacking the actual ones that are actually reasonable. Crazy. What a plot twist, you know? Kaylee Mills just always finds a way herself for me to just have a disdain towards her, you know? And also those specific people in the English VA, and then also at the same time, it makes me look at the English VA as a laughing stock, to be honest. Like it really does. It actually makes me look at it and be like, man, that's pretty sad and pathetic, not gonna lie.
supporting them. I'm not mad at Jennifer for this statement, but I don't like the statement. Here's why. She says stuff like healing is most important, and then talks about like putting the community and industry back together. But Jennifer Hale is a part of SAG-AFTRA. She's got a long record of being a VA. She's done great work, don't get me wrong. She's done good VA work, but she is a part of the industry. So when she's talking about stuff like put the industry back together and healing, I highly doubt she's talking about firing all these corrupt people and replacing them. No, she's
I'd be
more
shocked
so
if there's anyone
talking
actually
about
supporting that.
like, let's move on from this. Like everyone needs to tone it down and move on from this. And I obviously disagree with that. I don't think this is something that should just be like moved on from. There's no just healing and building back from this. The whole industry needs to be gutted. And I doubt Jennifer would agree with me on that premise. So again, I'm not trying to put words in her mouth, but from her position, you can reasonably presume that her stance as mentioned wouldn't include what would really be required to make the English VA industry a better place, if that makes sense. Also, over the years, I've covered a lot of English VA industries where a lot of English VA controversies where VAs are getting criticism. And on multiple occasions, I have seen after VAs do something bad and they start getting criticized, then some VA will come out and talk about like, okay, guys, let's tone it down. And it's like, where was that statement when this all started? Where was that statement when the VAs were attacking all of us? Y'all had nothing to say about that. But once the fans start responding and criticizing the VAs for what they did and what they started, then a VA comes out and says something like, okay, guys, it's time to heal or it's time to build back. So that's what I don't like. Hopefully that made sense. And also understand that there's so much context into this part of the discussion that I'd have to bring up to fully explain this. And I just don't have the time or energy to do that right now. It's also way out of the scope of this video since this is like mainly supposed to be focused on Kaylee. So, you know, you're welcome to agree with me or disagree with me on this premise. Just understand you're not getting the full story here. There's a lot more to it than what I just explained.
I probably have to say she's probably the most amazing VA where I've heard the most of her, and she's always back in drama in some way, shape, or form.
But let's move on to the Google Doc part. TLDR, because I know reading is hard.
See.
It's really not, but it is hard to suffer through reading someone's nonsensical statement. Like, oh, here's Kaylee's spin. Wonderful. Dude, no one woke up today thinking, I want to hear Kaylee Mills spin a narrative. So in that context, yes, reading is hard, Kaylee. Let's take a look. I take accountability for what I did. It was wrong, but I did not dox, pocket watch, or look up anyone's personal info. If you want to hate me over a couple rude comments, that's up to you. But please don't spread things I didn't do. If you still consider what I did harassment or bullying, then we have different definitions based on intention. The definition doesn't matter though. Regardless, I apologize for what I did. It was wrong.
The definition doesn't matter? If you still consider what I did harassment or bullying, well, yeah, you did. You fucking you were harassing a VA who had nothing to do on the English side of VA when the dude literally lives in Japan, minding his own business, and he knows both languages, English and Japanese, I assume, right? And he took the role for Kenichi for the new VA because the old VA decided not to voice act in the span of like how many months. So then Hoyo just got sick and tired of it and told the VA agency, either you get someone else or we'll get somebody else.
Be more
I
careful
assume
in
that's
the
just
future.
how it
So
was.
it's just her tweet. It's the same thing, right? Isn't that what she tweeted? Let's take a look at part 1. It's been a year since the incident. Trademark. Oh, so quirky. Trademarking it. The incident. Wow.
I don't know. He lives in Japan.
And although my intention has been to allow the entire... This is also what she said in her tweet. Wait, the first part is just her tweets again, isn't it? Okay. Let's start with this area.
The dude
then.
lives in Japan.
My intention is not to take back any apology put out or to pretend I am a perfect angel who never makes mistakes. However, I've been harassed, bullied, and defamed over the past year, and the consequences I've received far, far outweigh the actions I took. Last March, one actor replaced another due to the original actor striking. I posted, along with many other actors, that I was displeased that an actor would take a role from a striking actor.
Yeah, but the dude didn't do his job for how many months, and they needed a VA to do it now? Like, if you're not gonna do your job, you're gonna get replaced. The fuck are we talking about here? That's it. That's how it is in like any specific job in general. You don't do your job, you're just gonna get fired and then replace someone else who will.
For this, I overstepped and made a few comments which were not intended to be hurtful, and to my knowledge, were not hurtful to the person they were aimed at. We already talked about all that. I think that's referencing the house thing that we talked about. And it's funny how she talks about an actor striking, by the way, but doesn't mention the larger context, which I also mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
That being John Patnode refusing to do the work for about 8 months.
Oh, 8 months. There you
was
go.
so nice. We've talked about this a lot too, not just in this video, but like, throughout the entire arc last year. Hoyoverse was so nice to these people. They gave dude 8 months to come back to his job. 8 months later, they're like, okay, we'll replace you. We gave you 8 months.
Yeah.
And keep in mind,
that's
this was
plenty
8
of
months
time,
of
to be
players
honest.
having no voices for a lot of characters in game, not just Kenichi's voice.
Yeah.
But a lot of a lot of characters that have English VAs were unvoiced for a period of 8 months or so.
I'll be honest with you, if all those VAs never came back or so, might as well just fire all of them and just get some new ones that will be willing to do it,
Which absolutely negatively impacted the player experience to people who want to hear the English dub. Now, I know we can make jokes about English dub versus JP or Chinese dub, but this is still a fact. They factually made the game worse for a lot of people, and this was going on for many, many months. Eventually, Hoyoverse was like, okay, we got to start replacing these people. They got replaced. They start playing victim, start harassing the people replacing them, like Jacob Takanashi, and then a number of VAs who replaced the striking VAs didn't even want their name released because they were afraid of getting harassed by the SAG-AFTRA clique. Anyways, let's continue. Where do we leave off here? So what was actually said and what was the context? After my initial comment, I became reactive and in defending another castmate and close friend not related to this character who was being harassed. I made a comment about how that hold on a second, I'm sorry. I became reactive and in defending another castmate and close friend not related to this character who was being harassed, and made a comment about how that castmate may have chosen not to strike because it was their primary source of income. This is referring to freaking Paimon's VA. I'm like 99% sure. This is likely referring to Paimon's VA. Ex-Paimon's VA. What's her name again? Karina Betker, whatever.
Actually, whatever happened to her, actually? What's she been doing, actually? Miss Karina Boger?
Yeah, so, oh my gosh, dude. I'm sorry to keep pausing so much. This is just very frustrating. So, during the whole pseudo strike, yes, Karina kept voicing as Paimon, which many people pointed out was hypocritical, that she was in fact also scabbing, but because she's on the good side of the SAG-AFTRA clique, they had nothing to say about her. And so people were criticizing Paimon's VA for that and other reasons because she made a lot of horrible statements attacking people like Dargos88 and the Genshin community, etc., etc. And then then Kaylee's now trying to spin that as, oh, Karina was being harassed. Dude, you guys are literally the instigators every time. Then they get criticism, they play victim, say they're the ones being harassed. And now she's tripling down on that even here a year later. Hopefully that made sense. I then went on to say that the new actor didn't need the money because they recently bought a house, and that for all we know, his wife could be the breadwinner. Based on these comments, I was accused of doxing, pocket watching, and insulting said person. Let me clarify what I meant by that. while once again reiterating that I overstepped and should not have said these things. 1.
Wow,
I
you
saw that
don't
this person had
say.
bought a house because of a public tweet that they made themselves. I saw it in passing and didn't notice initially, but the tweet was not super recent. Still, it wasn't even found through scrolling. The algorithm just gave it to me. 2.
Right, the algorithm just gave it to me. Yes, right. This magical Japanese girl that's cuter so magically showed up on my timeline feed too as well, chat, you know. The algorithm just gave it to me. You know, it just randomly popped up, you know. Like I definitely, you know, wasn't searching on it or anything like that, you know.
Based on that, I assumed that one VO gig was not going to make a difference. Oh my gosh, dude. I'm just gonna have to stop commenting on this and read it, or we're never gonna get through. I'm sure you guys are suffering with me in like how
Jesus
obnoxious
Christ.
this all is, but I'll stop pausing so we can get through this together, though. Just know there's so much that can be said about so much that she's trying to spin here. But I'll try to limit my commentary for the rest of this. Based on that, I assumed that one VO gig was not going to make a difference. That was none of my business, plain and simple. I was rude to say that, and it wasn't okay. The reason I said, for all we know, his wife could be the breadwinner is because other people in the comment chain were making assumptions and claiming that he needs to take care of his family. For all we know means we do not know. Not me, not you.
What?
Because it is none of our business. I was not trying to imply that I knew or that it would mean anything. Still, once again, it was not my business, and I apologize for saying this. I didn't pocket watch. I did not look up any private information. I did not dox. None of the things I said were said with the intention of hurting this man or his career. And they didn't. Edit, again, to my knowledge. If they did, I apologize. That doesn't change.
It didn't hurt his career, it hurt your career. And you had a bunch of people literally in the Nikkei stream saying that they should replace you. Which, in my personal opinion, they should have replaced her, but that's just my personal opinion, though.
Change the fact that I'm sorry. I was simply upset at a situation and acted emotionally when I should have stopped. I was, and still am, going through some incredibly difficult things with my personal life and health. That's not an excuse for my actions.
Yeah, she's the VA. Yeah, for those who don't know her, so she voice acts the English side of Rappy from Nikkei, Goddess of Victory. So for those who don't know, now you know. Sorry to ruin your waifu if that's your favorite. So
it doesn't make me any less responsible. It was a mistake. It was wrong. But it was also truly not the doxing, hateful, harassing, bullying campaigns. It was made out to be by slop tubers, whose only job is to create drama and discord, and fans with bad intentions. Oh, I love this. Once again, Kaylee takes no accountability. These VAs that started all this and did all this bad stuff, well, that's fine. But when people are talking about what they did, oh, now you guys are creating drama and discord and have bad intentions? Dude, look in the mirror. Oh my gosh.
you think these people are gonna take
In what
accountability?
world does she ever think that this is a good
Number
statement?
one, she probably isn't. Number two, she's a woman, so usually women don't take accountability. Well, at least the stupid ones, anyways, I should say.
To make? Is she out of her mind? This is such a bad statement. It's insane. Now, I want to address the strike side a bit more. Oh, please do. This is going to be great.
What?
Everything I said during the strike was true, but the entire situation is very nuanced. So please try to open your mind to thinking that isn't so black and white. First, let me make one thing clear. Those who are full SAG members are not supposed to take non-union work at all. That said, many do, simply because there aren't enough SAG jobs to pay the bills. The argument for or against this behavior has been happening for ages, and this is not the place for that. Yes, it is. This is intrinsically linked to the pseudo strike. It's convenient that once we all started informing ourselves more and more with the SAG strike and what they're trying to accomplish, to the extent that we have stronger talking points, and when I say we, I'm talking about the Hoyoverse community and anyone who's been following this situation, anyone who's been watching videos or reading news about this, we all have stronger talking points on this topic than the VAs do. And they can't respond to our talking points because we're objectively right on most of this in our criticism of what they're doing. And so now she's like, oh, this isn't the place for that. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Just because you're in the wrong and don't have a good response doesn't mean you can say, oh, guys, we shouldn't be talking about this. Well, you can say that, but it doesn't make it a good point. It's really pathetic. Kaylee. FICOR also exists and is a way for non-members to still work union jobs. Just understand how it works. We do. We've talked about this so much over the last year. You're bringing up a bunch of stuff that we already talked about.
I have a question or so. I know some of you guys don't know or so. Is this like Is there like only like one agency for like English voice acting or so, or is there like multiple agencies? I'm just super curious because I'm like all I hear is really bad shit from like these specific group of people. That's it, you know. I'm just wondering, is it all from like one single like English voice acting agency or something? Like there's gotta be more than one, right? There's no way there's just only like one agency, right? I hope not.
Was going on for about a year from July 2024 to June 2025. During this time, we were encouraged to not work on Side Letter 6 projects union, which had not adopted the interim agreement. Many SAG actors who worked on non-union projects also chose to completely stop working on any non-union projects. The situation with the project non-union game was a bit different. Actors had been talking behind the scenes for years about what to do about payment issues as well as AI protections, which we found increasingly necessary to be included in our contracts. This led to a very messy withholding of work, which happened at the same time as the SAG strike. This means that some actors were striking solely because of SAG strike, some were striking for AI protections to be included in their contracts, some were striking in order to get the game and to get the game to go union, and some were a mix of those. Bros, I gotta say, I'm so confused right now. She's bringing up a lot of stuff that's already been addressed since last year. And a lot of this stuff that she's bringing up is being spun in a way by her that's very misleading, that we've already disproven last year. And now she's trying to like regurgitate bad talking points from last year.
I see.
Why would you ever do that? It's like, hey, you lost on these talking points, but you're gonna bring them up a year later anyways. That's crazy. For example, this is how disingenuous she is. Actors had been talking behind the scenes for years about what to do about payment issues as well. Yeah, for example, Paimon's VA, Karina, ex-VA Karina, when she was trying to say that Hoyoverse was taking her money, and then it came out that Hoyoverse was actually doing their best to get her the money that the third-party agency owed her. And it was like, dude, this actually made Hoyoverse look good. But she was trying to spin this in a way that Hoyoverse was the ones withholding the money, when to my understanding they weren't. Again, this was from a third-party agency. It was the whole Formosa thing going back to that.
So basically it's her agency, and now Kaylee's bringing this up a year later. But she's blaming Hoyo.
And it's like, dude, do you think we've all forgotten? Are you just really trying to get away with this vague posting? Like, I'm sorry, I said I wasn't going to comment so much. It's just frustrating reading all this nonsense, dude. It really is. Let's continue. I personally only asked that AI protections be added to my existing non-union contract. While I do think that the game going union would be beneficial to all, healthcare, AI protections with the backing of SAG lawyers, etc., and I know that the non-union talent would be able to continue working on it, you don't know that. You really don't know that. They would have to beg for a Taft-Hartley. Hey, SAG, please, I want to keep working on this game, but I don't want to join the union. Please give me a Taft-Hartley. They might say no. Maybe they say yes with stipulations. You really can't say, like, oh, I know they would accept that. And it's more reasonable to presume that they wouldn't accept that either. Look at the stuff that one of the highest ranking members of SAG-AFTRA, who was in charge of the official strike, according to my recollection, said, that being Duncan Crabtree Ireland. He openly disparaged VAs that are not a part of SAG-AFTRA. So you're telling me, Kaylee, you're saying that we should all just believe that the union that's openly disparaged non-union VAs is going to look out for the non-union VAs, and they're going to let them keep working these roles instead of replacing them with union talent? Really? I'm not going to buy that. I don't believe that for a second. And it's not even just him. Even on SAG-AFTRA's official website, they have a Q&A section where they talk about how, oh, it's better if companies hire our talent. We're superior to the non-union plebs. That's paraphrased a little bit, but that's essentially their talking point.
Okay, so this one has to be, at least from what I'm listening so far, this has to be one of the biggest ones at least. And so far, what I'm listening so far is definitely much of an ego shit, saying that we have the best talent, even though a lot of people really did not like the old Paimon voice to begin with in the English dub. And I think there was like other handful of voice actors or voiceovers that they did not like in Genshin Impact, at least through my knowledge. I remember it's been like a while since like the original Genshin Impact.
To say, on multiple levels, the highest ranking members of SAG have openly disparaged non-union talent. And as we can see here as well, Kaylee will also, and other members of SAG-AFTRA will advocate for policies that will hurt non-union talent, but they'll gaslight you to your face, and say, oh, it's not
like
really going to be bad for you, don't worry about it. Yeah, right. Then she has the audacity to talk about SAG-AFTRA healthcare being a great benefit and why people should join the union. Kaylee, do you even know what you're
Didn't
talking about?
Karina had
During
issues
the
or so with her
pandemic,
healthcare?
SAG-AFTRA made the premiums go so high that a lot of their senior members that were paying into the healthcare plan lost their coverage in the middle of a pandemic. What did SAG do?
Damn.
Oh, hey, we need to stop your healthcare coverage. Now she's going to sit here bragging about SAG's healthcare coverage. Do you really want that conversation?
Oh, I did
I'm
not
done
know about
reading
that
this
actually, to be
nonsense.
honest.
I'm skipping the rest of part 2. I could disprove probably everything else she would say. I don't even want to deal with this anymore. I'm so over this nonsensical post. What's part 3 about? I understand the majority of those who harass me now are
Wait a minute, this
purposely
isn't
being
McDonald's?
obtuse.
Well, some people should
But for the
probably
small
work at
number of
McDonald's,
people
to
who
be
may have
honest.
simply been led astray by misinformation.
Well,
Oh my
come on.
gosh,
I feel like there's some people.
palpable.
I feel like there's some people who.
Oh, I gotta calm down.
Who've gotten their opportunity, and are taking what's the word or so? Taking it for granted. Yeah. Maybe we should probably bring in some job applications for them, to be honest. But the fries in the bag, little bro. I'm like, they should start working back at McDonald's. I'm just saying.
Gotta calm down. I apologize for losing.
I'm
a
like,
little bit in
Rico,
this
you're not
video, guys.
wrong.
You know, I deal
And
with a
also,
lot of nonsense on the internet, but the amount of nonsense in this single video is more than I've covered maybe in the last few weeks combined. It's just crazy. I know you guys understand because we're reading this all together. I'm sure you're just as frustrated. Let's finish this.
Yeah, I am pretty annoyed, to be frankly
This
honest.
past year plus has been incredibly traumatic and uncomfortable for me. I opened my mind to the possibility that perhaps I was a horrible person who deserved everything that happened to me. I fell into a deep pit that I'm still clawing myself out of. However, the further I get, the more I see that I truly didn't deserve what happened to me. From me to me. I didn't deserve to be harassed. Okay, I'm kind of blocking the rest of this. Let me just go like that. From me to me, I didn't deserve to be harassed. I didn't deserve to be doxxed. I didn't deserve to be recast, though the client has every right, and I accept that. I didn't deserve to have people contact my clients and try to get me...
didn't deserve to be recast. Man, that's a wild thing to say in my personal opinion. I ain't gonna lie, to be honest. She fell into a pit. Damn, that's sad. Yeah, that she dug the hole herself and then she fell in it and said, "Oh my god, why would you guys do this to me?" when she's the one that literally fell in the hole herself to begin with.
Fired.
Jesus
I didn't deserve to
Christ.
feel like I didn't have a right to exist in the only space I've ever felt like I'd belonged. I didn't deserve to be hurt and watch my friends be hurt to the point of physical sickness. I didn't deserve any of it. I am endlessly grateful to my partner, my friends.
I feel like if I'm doing VA stuff, like I wouldn't consider the people that I work with as friends. I would consider them as coworkers or like what's the tier before friends? I know there's like a one tier below or so. Before you actually become like friends, you know? Ah, there you go. Yeah, acquaintances. Yeah. So like for me specifically, you know, it'd be acquaintances. I'd be like, yeah, this is just my acquaintance that I just met or so, you know, just kind of like about it. So I don't know them very well, so it's just kind of like whatever, you know. Can't mix friends with businesses? Well, apparently you can, at least in the VA industry. I'm like, is everyone like friends with one another or something? I just feel like they used to be in like some kind of like group or so. Like they matched like group a long time ago, and then they probably like helped one another to get into the VA like industry, you know, one way or shape or another, you know. I just have like, that's just like my tinfoil hat theory, you know.
Stuck with me and my
I think they
fellow
knew each other
actors who
before
took the
the
time
VA
out of
industry.
party
I'm just taking a
celebrations to
guess.
talk with me
Shot
in
in
a
the
corner,
dark.
to validate me and give me a safe space to cry when I was at my lowest. To the fans who saw what was happening for what it was and continued to support me. To the fans who didn't agree with what I did but believed in forgiveness and grace and allowed me to move forward. To myself for surviving. I'm endlessly grateful to my partner, my friends who stuck with me, and my fellow actors who took time out of party celebrations to talk with me in a corner, to validate me and give me a safe space to cry when I was at my lowest. To the fans who saw what was happening.
That and ego. Ego is the other thing that also clouds them quite a lot or so, because they think because apparently it's only in the Western side. It's not really much on the in Hispanic or in the Japanese side when it comes to voice acting. Like they think they are the character. Like they you know, just because you know we use the voice of you to bring the character to life. Like they say like, oh yes, you know, I have the right to be, you know, this and that, you know, because she said herself like she didn't deserve she didn't deserve to have her VA role be taken away from her. I'm like, I'm like, it's a privilege to voice act a character. It's not a right.
For what it
You don't
was,
have the
and
right
continued to support
to
me,
voice
to the
act a
fans who didn't
character.
agree
You are
with what I did
privileged.
but believed in forgiveness and grace and allowed me to move forward, to myself for surviving. I wish the actors who have taken over roles which were recast the best. I also hope that they understand why it hurts and where solidarity
I'm like,
is
if I get a
important,
voice
that
acting
it's
role or
something
so,
they will likely need
I'm
themselves
happy
one
and I'm
day.
privileged.
That even if
you
they
know,
didn't stand up for
be like,
my
thank
rights,
you for the
I would still
opportunity,
stand up for theirs. To new actors, you are absolutely welcome. VO is the most welcoming space for actors I know. Find your people and lift each other up. If someone does something you don't agree with, talk to them about it one-on-one if you can. Take a second and breathe. Take a day and think about it before responding. Always lead with kindness. My biggest regret is not doing so in that instance. You can be kind and strong. Stand up for what's right and fight for what you believe in. You can do so without abandoning your heart. That's the kind of person I strive to be every day. Thank you for
Latina
reading
Paimon
some
can
or all
still
of this
be a
word
thing.
vomit. I hope it clears up what happened and where I'm at
Latina
now.
Paimon.
Most names and titles are not used. It should be clear who or what they're referring to, but I don't wish to further drag them into the situation. Once again, there's a lot more I could say about all of this, but I'm not trying to keep us here all day,
this
I'll abstain. Let's go to that Reddit post we talked about way earlier in the video and close with some of the public reception.
I gotta
post
hear
over
this,
on the
to be
Genshin
honest.
subreddit. TLDR, part 1, yes, it was wrong what I said, but part 2, you don't really understand what the strike was about. Proceeds to tell the same strike story everyone else told. Exactly. Thank you, bro. Exactly. I was going crazy reading that. I'm like, dude, we've already talked about all this and like the issues with these statements. Like I said, crazy that she brought up bad talking points again, thinking that was going to be a dub. Part 3. I reviewed my own actions and found myself not guilty. I felt bad because of the backlash to my actions, and that's not okay. Also, the voiceover community is the most wholesome space in the world. This is such a great...
Isn't technically like the voice acting like space itself supposed to be competitive? Well, I have no idea how it is in the English side, but I know for a fact in other territories it's supposed to be competitive, to be honest.
In TLDR,
your mom is guilty.
Emotionally transparent but defensive regarding professional culpability. Feels more like a narrative reclamation attempt than anything else. Whatever. It's in the past. Why bother digging this up now? Well, I do think the context is she recently made a statement regarding the NTE situation, and people are responding to her statement bringing up the stuff that she did in 2025, so now she's bringing this up again. I'm not saying it's a good move, but I'm giving a little more context into what I believe spurred.
I can't believe she's bringing this shit up in 2026, to be honest.
Of course, that's just speculation. Then we got this one. Another top comment says, I'm really not sure how she can say that she wasn't intending to be hurtful. Like, bro, you've been in this industry for years. You put the new guy on blast in public on the most hate-mongering social media app possible. What the frick did you expect to happen? Obviously, people shouldn't be harassing her, but her ability to reject accountability is astounding. Here's something I don't like.
She does have a debuff, you know, because she's a woman. You know, in the meme that always goes around or so, women don't take accountability. So, but in my statement or so, or in my defensive statement, I should say, only the stupid, dumb, bitchy bimbos are the ones who literally cannot accept fucking accountability. And that is one of them, to be honest.
Though this comment responds and says, this whole saga made me realize that these VAs probably had zero training on how to manage their public image. Dude, you don't need training to not be a complete scumbag.
Or be a dumbass.
Like, come on now. Come on. If they need training to be a decent person, that's a problem. We'll take a look at just a few more of these.
PR manager, though, I'll be honest with you.
I don't know what she's even trying to do here. The receipt from last year still exists, and thinking that you didn't do anything wrong and didn't deserve all these consequences seems baffling to me. Even with her additional context, quote unquote, what led her to the current predicament was actually her own actions. Trying to justify it this way seems silly. I get that being dogpiled on the internet sucks, but I can't really agree with the complaint when you're the side that initially did the dogpiling.
That is very true.
What's the point of this statement? It doesn't change anything. She just did what she did, assumed and acted like an entitled person. It wasn't her business to tell someone from another country to take the job or not. And the last one we'll read is this one. I read the entire thing, guys. It really is just 3 pages of, I did a bad thing, but not really because blah, 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 blah. I'm a victim too. Still no actual accountability at all. We're not.
You know, it's kind of funny or so that like this used to work like a couple years ago in the, you know, a couple years, many years back or so, where like, you know, I'm the victim too, and then now they, you know, you feel sympathy for the actual person. But now in like 2026, it just doesn't work. It got patched. I guess the new update for life itself, you know, patch 26 came live or so, and everyone was like, yeah, we don't care. Everyone did it before, so, and we found out that they're a pretty shitty, scummy person at the end of the day. So, at the end of the day, these kind of statements just don't work anymore. You gotta find a new game plan. You gotta find a new exploit now. You know, people who try to make themselves feel the victim, even though they're the ones who did something bad, and they want you to feel sympathy because they want sympathy points. Doesn't work anymore, to be honest.
Out on much. Edit. Also,
yeah,
work. This has 3 pages of
They need to stop, but it still keeps going.
And Genshin players can't.
But that's
read.
fine though. It gives me like
plenty.
free content at the end of the day.
This is just 3 pages
so.
of word salad, still rejecting accountability, still making excuses, still playing the victim, still championing SAG-AFTRA party rhetoric, still pathetic slop. Well said, and it reminds me of what I mentioned at the very beginning, addressing that whole line from Kaylee. Like, oh, I know it's difficult to read, and like I said then, not really. It's just that we don't really want to hear more of your nonsense, which we could see was reciprocated by this comment as well. Or that sentiment was reciprocated, I should say, by this comment as well. But yeah, I'm going to leave it there. I don't know what Kaylee's thinking. Terrible statement. Just astonishing, really. Astonishing.
I think what she needs to do is just get off of Twitter, or just have someone else take over her Twitter and just literally just get off of it. And just have that person just do the maintenance for her, to be honest. She just needs to stop and get off Twitter and literally do her own thing and mind her own business. Because at the end of the day, she's losing a losing battle. Well, she already lost to begin with anyways. There was no victory at the end of the day. So after, you know, discovering what SAG-AFTRA is and what it was actually intended for, and then also her and the rest of the other VAs dogpiling on the dude for getting the job because the guy that previously didn't want to do it, they gave him 8 months, you know. I feel like, you know.
And twist it! Oh my god, dude, this is an MMA fight, dude. It's too much. Twist that dick! Twist his dick! Twist his dick! Oh my god, dude. Oh my god. Oh, dick twist!
Even after like 8 months, they gave him pretty much a pretty big grace period of time or so for him to, you know, come back to voice act the character, but he decides not to, so then they just found someone else, and then that's basically it. And then she literally has become the most hated VA in the actual industry, and it's just kind of like, it's kind of funny in general. Like, I'm really hoping that the English VA, like, I do want it fixed, right? I do want it fixed where it is actually good, but then at the same time, I kind of don't, because then I can just make fun of them and just literally laugh at the English side of VA forever and ever and ever, and just have free content and just be like, yeah, that is pretty funny, to be frankly honest. So the English side of VA is just a laughing stock to begin with, and I think it'll always will be a laughing stock for me specifically, because I think I'd rather prefer to listen to it either in Japanese or in Spanish. That's about it. So if there ever was Spanish Genshin Impact, but I think if I heard Spanish Genshin Impact, I'm expecting it to go like full like Hispanic overall. So I want that shit to go buck wild or so with some of the VAs. But anyways, that's the end of the video. You guys can comment, like, subscribe to all that fancy jazzy stuff. It's not enough to just laugh at it. I'm like I always like voice acting is like one of my favorite things because I used to do it a long time ago. I just haven't gone back to it because I have to redo my demo reel to do it again. But like, I wouldn't mind going back into VAing, but then kind of like seeing all of this, I kind of don't want to at the end of the day. I'm just kind of like, yeah, I would like to, but, you know, but I don't know if I want to, but I do want to though, or at least do like a couple roles, maybe like here and there, but who knows, maybe I'll come back to it eventually, maybe not, you know, like I still got it at the end of the day. I still got that voice acting experience and like, you know, role, you know, like kind of like, you know, my level up system or so for that, you know. So 5 from Dragon Quest 3 is my favorite role you did, Co. If they ever do a remake or so, I should probably do that, just in case if, like, you know, they do actually reimagine that game, because my voice would probably fit perfectly for the character, but that's just me anyways. Side tangent. Yes, I used to do VA stuff long time ago. But anyways, that's not the topic for now. But at the end of the day, Kaylee Mills always finds a way to have some hate and bringing old stuff that literally is a year ago, and she decides to take quote unquote accountability, even though she did not take accountability. Yeah, it's pretty pathetic in my personal opinion. Anyways, that's the end of the video, and peace.